You're enrolled in a class called Organizational Behavior, and you might be wondering, is it the behavior of the organization, the behavior inside the organization, or the behavior of organizing the organization? And it's a heady question, but yeah, it's all that. I may be biased because I teach organizational behavior, but it's arguably one of the most important courses in business curriculum. I'm Professor Bailey. I have a Ph.D. in organizational communication, and this is Everyday Organizational Behavior, a research-based series where we unpack the micro moments, relational dynamics, and people-driven forces that shape our work and our lives, often a lot more than we realize. Today, we're answering two foundational questions. What is organizational behavior, and why does it matter? At its core, organizational behavior is the study of human behavior in organizations. More fully, it's an academic discipline dedicated to understanding the behaviors, thoughts, and feelings of individuals, the dynamics of groups and teams, and the processes, systems, and structures that shape our organizational life. Organizational behavior is typically analyzed at multiple levels: the individual level, how people think, feel, act, and why; the group level, how teams communicate and coordinate and why; and the organizational level, how cultures, norms, and systems form and why. The field of organizational behavior is interested in performance implications, like how individual characteristics, group dynamics, and organizational systems affect outcomes like productivity, well-being, turnover, and decision-making. OB is interdisciplinary and has ties to behavioral sciences like psych, soc, and anthro, social sciences like econ and poli-sci, and communication, all of which help explain the processes that hold organizations together. Its goal is to integrate these perspectives from across fields to help understand motivation, leadership, decision-making, teamwork, and a lot more. If you've ever wondered why your boss acts a certain way, or why a team really clicks, or why an organization's culture feels the way it does, you're already asking OB questions. Organizational behavior matters because organizations are human systems, and you'll spend a significant amount of time in your life in them. Organizational behavior gives us the tools to understand the thoughts, feelings, and actions of others and of ourselves, to recognize power dynamics and build trust, to navigate conflict and influence effectively and efficiently, and to communicate better. These are business skills, and most importantly, they're human or people skills. OB knowledge and practices are relevant in every field: business, public administration, healthcare, education, nonprofits, creative, government, you name it, it's relevant to everything. In the last video, we talked about Schneider's attraction, selection, attrition model, which is the perfect micro example of why organizational behavior matters. It explains why you're attracted to certain organizations, why organizations select the people they do, and why people stay or eventually leave. A real example is that I once worked at a farm-to-table restaurant because I loved the idea of ingredients being responsibly sourced and employees caring about their community and about their craft. I was probably selected because I was excited to explain those local connections to the customers. Ultimately, I stopped serving because I wasn't a good fit for the fast pace, but people who thrived in that environment stayed, and over time, the organization evolves through this process, especially through attrition or people leaving. The attraction, selection, attrition model helps explain why organizations feel the way they do, why some places energize you while others drain you, and why finding a good fit really matters for your well-being and success, as well as the development and performance of the organization. When you understand organizational behavior, you begin to understand the invisible forces, sometimes visible, that bring people into organizations, push people out, shape the culture, and define your everyday work life. Practically speaking, organizational behavior prepares you to behave in these organizations. It really is as simple as that. Most syllabi don't really phrase it this explicitly, but organizational behavior prepares you to better understand individuals, better collaborate in groups, and better solve organizational problems, basically better addressing these real-world challenges that we face on a day-to-day basis. Organizations expect us to implicitly understand organizational theories, engage in ethical reasoning, and sustain stakeholder relationships. They want us to intentionally and meaningfully contribute to organizational life, and OB provides these foundations. Ultimately, why should you care about organizational behavior? Because understanding people, what drives them, how they interact and communicate, and how they make decisions, how they shape the culture around them, is at the heart of your success in organizations. Don't worry, in the next video in the series, we'll start diving into micro moments that make OB come to life